Chapter Team Building. For 6 frenetic days, life aboard the Kronos yacht resembled a hybrid of boot camp, graduate seminar, and high-tech simulator. Each morning began with intense workouts led by Miles in the yacht's sleek, cutting-edge gym, ensuring everyone could meet any physical challenge Atlantis might throw their way. Squats, wind sprints, rope climbs, and even tightrope balance drills made up the punishing routine. Miles wanted them quick on their feet if they had to navigate collapsing corridors or chaotic streets. Overseeing it all was General Damon, who made sure no one pushed themselves too far. By breakfast, the team staggered in, breathless and drenched, but trading smiles that wordlessly affirmed, "We've got this, and we're in it together!" After the morning cool-down, the group split up for specialized training. Below decks, Damon directed firearms drills in a stark chamber lined with digital targets that popped up at random. He barked out corrections about stance, recoil management, and reload timing. Jace, never one to miss a moment of levity, quipped, "If Atlantis whips out laser cannons, these guns might look like slingshots." Damon only grunted, cautioning them that underestimating an enemy, advanced or archaic, was a surefire way to fail. Meanwhile, tucked away in a calmer part of the research wing, Theo held cultural orientation sessions based on Atlantis lore. He projected speculative glyphs and circle-based hieroglyphs he'd pieced together from Plato's dialogues, brainstorming possible routes of communication should they ever encounter survivors, or simply want to read ancient inscriptions. By midday, everyone gathered in a compact lab where Lena took center stage to explain the elusive Metromite crystal rumored to power Atlantis. Complex holographic schematics hovered over the table, each diagram more intricate than the last. "If this stuff actually taps into zero-point energy," Lena noted, circling a pulsing note on the display, "it might be extraordinarily powerful, and just as dangerous if we don't handle it properly." The tension in the room was palpable. One slip-up could endanger both their mission and Atlantis itself. Miles, ever practical, drilled Lena with questions about meltdown thresholds, while Jace focused on possible chemical burns or radiation hazards. Afternoons brought the group to the top deck command center for Kira tutorials on operating the sphere. In a room buzzing with holographic controls and swirling quantum data, Kira stood at the center of it all, commanding the space with her usual sharp confidence. She moved fluidly between consoles, adjusting projections, while the team gathered around trying to absorb her explanations. "All right," Kira began, gesturing to the holographic readout spinning in midair. "Today's lesson: locking onto temporal coordinates without accidentally throwing us into the Jurassic period. Pay attention, because if anything happens to me," she added with a smirk, "one of you will have to fly us home. And I'd really prefer we don't get eaten by something with teeth the size of this room." Theo blinked at her, looking a bit pale. "I'm just saying, I don't think I'm qualified for this level of pressure." The others laughed, but Miles leaned casually against the edge of a console, a playful glint in his eye. "Come on, Kira, if anything happens to you, that's a pretty big if, isn't it? You're practically indestructible." Kira raised an eyebrow at him, her lips curving into a sly smile. "Indestructible? Is that your way of saying I'm too stubborn to die?" Miles tilted his head, pretending to think it over. "Maybe. Or maybe it's my way of saying you're a bit too irreplaceable for the rest of us to handle." Jace, perched nearby, snorted. "Oh, he's laying it on thick now. Watch out, Kira, you're about to get a Shakespearean sonnet next." Kira rolled her eyes, though her faint blush betrayed her amusement. "I'll pass on the sonnet, thanks. And just so we're clear, indestructible doesn't mean I'll stick around to bail you out if you break the sphere." Miles straightened, hand over his heart in mock solemnity. "Kira, I would never disrespect your beautiful ship like that. I'd treat her with the utmost care, same as I'd treat you." The group collectively groaned, and Kira crossed her arms, giving him a pointed look. "You're really not afraid of turning this room into a cringe fest, are you?" Miles grinned, leaning just a little closer. "Cringe? Number, I like to think of it as professional admiration. For your unparalleled skills, of course." Kira arched an eyebrow, refusing to let him win so easily. "Well, professionally speaking, if you mess up these controls, admiration won't be enough to save us from imploding mid-jump." As the laughter from the group settled, Kira met Miles's gaze, her smirk lingering. But there was something else behind it now. For a brief moment, the teasing edge faded, replaced by a flicker of something quieter, something almost unreadable. Miles noticed. His grin softened just a fraction, as if daring her to acknowledge it. Kira's fingers hovered over the controls for a second longer than necessary before she exhaled, breaking the moment. Maybe it was just the tension of the upcoming mission. Or maybe, just maybe, there was more to his charm than the playful bravados he wore so well. But instead of saying anything, she let the moment pass, clearing her throat as she turned back to the holographic display. Miles threw up his hands in mock surrender. All right, I'll focus. But only because I'd hate to disappoint you, Doctor. Artemis Kira's smirk returned in full force. You're already a disappointment, Doctor. Shaw. She tapped a few buttons on the console. Now pay attention before I demote you to drone duty.